I think what's important is, are you creating good content? Is the audience excited to see your film? When we stop questioning and having these questions and conversations about pay parity based on man or woman, then the scenario will change.
What are your thoughts on this aspect of how the media portrays sort of women actors?
Good afternoon, everyone. So I'll actually start from the second part of your question, which is, when I had personally from my journey, when I had that sort of break in Bombay. Now, when Yar released, I was all of 2021. I was a kid. I had no idea about the industry. I got that film. I did that film. Before that, I think simultaneously I was shooting for my first film in Telugu, which happened to release a couple of months before that. It became a huge hit. And before I knew, I had some great films, working with great actors, makers, and I signed that on. Because my belief always was that you don't give up good work coming your way to find more work, and I also didn't see any harm. I was so naive. I thought these guys have called me when I was in Bombay, so when they want me, they'll also call me. So that was the belief that I started with. Now, when I did come back here, and it was a very difficult choice to make at that point, because I was doing some of the biggest films, and then to tell to myself that you have to leave some sort of a stardom and fan following, and then move to Bombay and sort of start from scratch, because there's been a gap. Yeah, start afresh. But that was exciting for me. It was a fresh playground, and yes, there were a lot of people who were familiar with my body of work, but there were many who weren't. And yes, the media narrative sometimes does bother you, because in those 5 years, I'll be honest, in those 5 years, I possibly didn't have a break. I'm some 43 films. I've done some 43 films by now, and thank you. So to them, I couldn't say anything. How do you can't pull up everyone and tell them, hey, I wasn't sitting free, but this is how my journey was possibly
working
designed.
More than ever.
Yeah, and possibly it was designed, and I'm so grateful that it happened this way, because I had grown to know myself, my craft, learn about the industry, have more experience, and be prepared for Bombay, which is a much more competitive space. So by the time I came here, because during Yare, I was really young and naive, and I didn't know anything. So all those 4-5 years, 6 years of work and experience that I had in the South Indian industries, that made me who I was. The discipline that I learned from there, the kind of work ethic that I picked up from there, it was amazing. So when I came in here, I was like, I just shut an ear to that conversation. I was like, people will see my work and let the work speak for itself. So I think a lot of times it's not about just this conversation, but many a times there could be media narratives, and more, actually many times than reality, So there could be a media narrative, but sometimes you just choose to not answer and not get affected and let your work speak for yourself. And I think that's what I did at that point. And coming to the gender pay parity, disparity, this is a very difficult. There's no one answer to this, actually, and I have a very different opinion on it. I feel when Priyanka Chopra said what she said, she has become a global icon. She is someone who has the ability to pull stars to theaters. So I feel what really needs to happen is that your pay needs to be decided on how much crowd you're truly pulling to the theaters, as opposed to what gender you are.
Wonderful.
I think that's more important, because when we stop questioning and having these questions and conversations about pay parity based on man or woman, then the scenario will change. I think what's important is, are you creating good content? Is the audience excited to see your film? Whether you are a male actor or a female actor or a character actor, whoever, if you are attracting audiences, you should be paid, and there needs to be some sort of a proportional math to that, but not on the basis of gender.